Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is one Lai-DuMone. One, welcome on the show.
Hello, Nitin. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is all ours, one. Let's get started with the big question. Who is one?
See, you just threw out the big questions at me right away. Okay, so I think we were just talking about our mutual friend Tam. So, which brings me to this idea that, well, the fact that I'm a Vietnamese refugee. I came here in 1975 at the fall of Saigon with my family. So that is a big part of my identity and the work I do. So growing up, I saw my parents clearly working hard, following their curiosity out of necessity to raise their family, create a life for themselves and their children in this country. And the work I do now is bringing creativity and curiosity into the workplace in the form of team and leadership development programs. I'm also a mom of a little 11-year-old boy. And I guess if you think about who is Vun in the future, Vun will be in the future, will be living on a farm with some farm animals.
That's awesome. So, in one word, one is busy.
Yes, that's spot on.
Tell us more about what WorkSmart Advantage is. You're also something I guess you missed out is you're also an author of an amazing book. But tell us what WorkSmart Advantage is. What's the reason behind doing what you're doing? You could have done so many different things coming from the background that you just shared. Why do this? Why drive culture? Why work on curiosity? Why help other organizations? So love to hear more on that. And also if you can give us a sense of the size and scale of the impact you and your team have been able to create just so far.
Sure. So there's so much to say there because I was raised by Vietnamese refugee parents who instilled hard work, especially in the math and sciences.
Mhm.
There wasn't a lot of room for creativity, but I've always been a very creative person. And when I was little, I think back to like what has always been. I've always been creative. My mom would buy me a pair of shoes. I would immediately paint them. I remember one time they bought me a bunk bed that was completely white. By the end of the day, it had been completely muraled, right? Painted.
Nice.
So that creative part of me has always been there, but I was raised in an environment that didn't value that creativity. It valued the sciences. And so I pursued that. I pursued a psychology degree, went into the pharmaceutical industry. And it was in that industry where I found myself feeling very detached from who I truly am. And I was working in learning and development. And I just felt like there must be a different way to do this because the lack of creativity in the workplace really was something I felt was missing. And what it did was it didn't allow people to be who they really are in the workplace and didn't give people, I found the workplace didn't really give people a voice. For me personally, it was bringing creativity back into my personal life that I found, oh, like if it can do so much for me in my personal life, what could it do for me in the working world?
Mhm.
And it was just an idea, just a thought for 6 years. And I stayed in the business for 9 years. And then really the breaking point for me was I got married, I had my baby. My son was 8 weeks old when I got a phone call one morning when I was sitting on the couch out here in our living room saying, get to the emergency right away. Your brother's been in a motorcycle accident. So my brother, who was a police officer at the time, had a head-on injury, and he ended up being in the neuro ICU for almost 2 months in a coma. So here I am with this 8-week-old baby walking around this hospital every single day for hours a day, not knowing what was going to happen to my brother with this little eight-week-old baby. And it was in those moments, in many of those moments, where I thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to take this idea that's been tapping me on the shoulder that I know will have good impact in the world and bring it to life. So that's what I did. And just to wrap up that story, my brother is 100% fine now. He went back to police work and retired about 5 years ago. And my son is now 11. So it was during that time I decided to start this business. And it went through a lot of different iterations to get to what it is now. So what I do now is my team and I, we go into organizations and we teach leadership development. So anything you can hire another consultant to bring in, right?
Mhm.
Conflict management resolution, giving feedback, building trust on teams, all those skills, except we bring in an element of creativity.
Mhm.
And so my form of creativity is hands-on creativity. For example, at the end of a project, a workshop, we might make a little grounding rock like this, remind over the work we did. I also bring in a spoken word artist. What I have found through that is number one, people are more engaged in their learning. They retain the information more readily. And really the bottom line with creativity is number one, we're all innately creative. So when we teach and learn through creativity, we tap into the capacity every single person in the room has. And what I also found about creativity, it levels the playing field so everyone has a chance to have their voice heard.
You make learning and work fun. That's amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would imagine you have some data around this in terms of the loss in productivity when people are not engaged, when people are not using their creative powers to bring that level of innovation to their day to day. I think a lot of us think about innovation as being a very heavy term that cannot impact or help you in your daily life. But just with small changes, small improvements, a little bit of creativity, not only you make your daily work fun, but also bring in so much more efficiency.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because oftentimes in the workplace, we think of the word creativity as like artistry,
Right.
artistic ability.
Mhm.
And that's not the case. When I talk about creativity in the workplace, we're talking about creative thinking, creative problem solving,
Mhm.
being able to look at challenges and overcome obstacles and vet ideas through different lenses and different perspectives. So not only are you getting more ideas on the table, but what you're also doing is building trust because through creativity and the process and tools of creative thinking and creativity, you're asking people for more of the ideas. You're using your curiosity. So when you do that in the workplace, you're building trust.
So true. Now, give us a sense for who is an ideal customer for you and an ideal engagement, and what are the different geographies you work with?
So I have worked, so in person, I've worked all over the United States, not Canada yet. And during the pandemic, it really opened up this idea of, because I never did anything virtually before.
Mhm.
Because how do you pack 50 pounds of Legos and put it online, right? So I had to find a way. So a lot of my tools are hands on. So I had to figure out a way to bring this to a virtual environment. And by doing so, I work with companies in Dubai, in Vietnam, virtually. So I would say we are a global brand in some ways. And my ideal client, because as I think I mentioned, I have my 11-year-old son at home
Mhm.
who has made it very clear he doesn't like mom traveling that much anymore because I travel a lot. So ideal client is within the United States.
Mhm.
And I found that for me, the clients I love working with are mid-size, high-growth organizations with about 50 to 300 people, because I find that those are the organizations who understand the value of building a culture and they'll invest in a long-term program to help develop their teams and leaders. And they need it, right? Because what I'm finding that in a lot of companies is what happens is someone's good at their job, they're good at sales, they're good at marketing, whatever it is. So they get promoted into a managerial leadership role, but they've never had any training to be a leader.
Mhm.
So that's the work I'm trying to do. I do a lot of one-offs with the bigger companies, but when you say ideal client is those mid-sized high growth companies who understand the investment in long-term development and trying to build your emerging leaders into your future leaders.
Makes a lot of sense. And especially when you're high growth, you're wanting efficiency, you want trust, you want reliability, you want people to have the skills. But therein lies the catch. As you said, they have never had that formal training. And just because of that lack of training, you don't want to give up on an ideal person that has the trust of their teams, that has the passion and can bring in that level of growth and efficiency.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, as you help companies overcome their challenges, I'd love to hear what is the one big challenge you're facing.
I would say when you said earlier, I'm busy, that's an understatement. I do a lot of stuff. So I think, how would I put this? I think for me, my biggest challenge is focus.
Mhm.
Because as a creative person and as someone who has a lot of ideas, I want to move with all my ideas.
Mhm.
And for me, my biggest challenge is okay, let's stay focused. When I come up with a strategy and a plan, implement it and keep doing it versus like, oh, I tried it once, let's try something else now.
Right.
So for me, I think it is that idea, getting focused, coming with strategies, getting focused and sticking with the plan and trusting the process.
I can relate to that. I'm very
I
similar
had a
in many ways.
feeling.
Now, on the flip side of challenges come opportunities. What's the most exciting one you have in front of you?
So let's go back to the book because you had mentioned the book, and thank you
Yeah.
for saying that because I'm still getting used to calling myself an author. Um, so this book is called What If Pigs Can Fly? A Practical Guide to Follow Your Curiosity to Achieve Impractical Possibilities. And the book is a framework. It helps people who are maybe not like us,
Mhm.
who have an idea that's been swirling around, tapping on the shoulder, and they just won't ever move on it. They don't know how, they're fearful about it. So this is a three-part framework with guidelines, with exercises in it to help people get to that first small step. And when I think about this book, right now, the only way people can get to my work is if their company brings me in. But this book now gives me access to individuals. So the biggest opportunity for me in terms of this book is to get this work out to more people. And I am building a personal brand around this book where I'm going to be offering live online courses around the book and then also some one-on-one coaching.
That's amazing. When do we get to be a part of that?
It's coming soon. October
Awesome.
is gonna be the first 90-minute workshop. And again, like just what I was telling you before, this idea of being patient and sticking to a strategy. I have a virtual assistant who's helping me set the stage for that and starting the process of marketing and putting it out there in the world.
That's super exciting. Hearty congratulations and looking forward to the launch. Now, as we look about and peek into the future, I want to pause and reflect and take a moment and have you share two experiences from your previous life. One where things did not work out as you had expected, there was failure, there were lessons, and another one where things exceeded your expectations and became a success beyond what you had imagined.
Okay, so the first one, so what I didn't mention before was while I was working in the full time in the pharmaceutical industry, I also decided to open up a bar studio. Have
Hmm.
you heard of a ballet bar
Yeah, yeah.
exercise studio? So one of my coworkers and I thought it'd be a great idea, and it was not well thought out. We just thought we're gonna open one. We got a company we were gonna franchise from this company. I wrote a business plan, went to the bank, they gave me money. So it just all just happened.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we had this fitness studio 45 minutes away from where either of us lived. Neither of us had experience running any type of retail, anything, or space, or a fitness studio. And I just remember like we had our grant, we built out the whole thing. My friends at architecture built it out for us, and it was beautiful and it was fun to build it. And then we had our opening night, and then I remember going to sleep that night thinking like, we have to run this thing now. So we did very haphazardly for 3 years.
Mhm.
And we ended up having to sell it because we neither knew what we were doing. Fortunately, we found someone to buy it from us at a loss. And it really felt like a failure. And in thinking about it, and afterwards, after realizing how much money we lost, how much time we put into this, what I realized, okay, yes, it failed in terms of it wasn't as booming business that we thought it would be, but we built a community of 300 women who showed
Wow.
up. And we built that community. We learned a lot about ourselves, about how to run a business. So even in that failure, there were definitely successes.
Yes. And one thing I love about entrepreneurship, and I speak more than I should, is it teaches you what you're made of. And it puts you in positions of adversity that forces you to dig deeper to find a new you, a new version of you, and also gets you to understand here are things that I do not like or do not want to do. And these are not my strengths, but let me go find someone who has strengths where I have weaknesses.
Absolutely. I think coming from a failure like that, I think I'm much more, I never thought about it like that, but I now know that if I don't know, I know at least I can find someone who
Yes,
knows. Yeah.
so
And then as
true.
far as the success, I would say, I don't know this, I'm just gonna say it counts because it's a story I'm gonna tell.
Mhm.
So it's a story about using this framework that I teach in this book. So I really want, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I really want to do a TEDx talk. And it's, again, one of those ideas that have been swirling around for quite some time. But those imposter syndrome, who am I to do a TEDx
Mhm.
talk? So many people talk about creativity. What more can I add? And then one day I was on LinkedIn, scrolling through LinkedIn, and I saw someone had posted they're producing a TEDx talk in Anaheim, California. and in Anaheim, California. It was called TEDx Women Mission of Mavericks. And I thought of my family story. So when we came in from the United States, our first home was at Camp Pendleton Marine Base in San Diego. Then we were transferred to a refugee center up in Northern California in Sacramento called Hope Village. And it's there that my mom became one of the first 20 licensed Vietnamese manicurists in the United States, leading to what is now an $8.3 billion industry.
Yeah.
And it was all because of a curiosity. So I had this story and I saw this TEDx talk, right? Mission of Mavericks, TEDx Women. And I immediately thought, I want to speak on that stage. But as I read further, I saw that they had all their speakers. All they were doing is selling tickets to watch. So I bought a ticket and I walked away from my computer. But there it was, that idea, Button, you should speak on that stage. You can speak, like, why don't you speak on that stage? What if you could? How might you? So I went back to my computer and I just typed a short email to the producer saying, this is my story, told a little bit my mom's story. I'd love to tell it on your TEDx stage, and press send, which is the framework I teach in this book, right? Pause and pay attention, ask what if, and take one courageous small step.
Yes.
And 2 days later, she emailed back and said, we'd love for you to tell this story on our stage. And I did. 6 weeks later, I was on a stage doing a TEDx talk. And that TEDx talk has really helped propel the work I do.
That's amazing. That's such a story about resilience and also about taking that step, because if we don't, it's never going to happen.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I do so many weird things now. I have a really good friend of mine who I met because I walked my dogs around my neighborhood, saw this company he worked for at the time. It's a company called the Dollar Shave Club. Are you familiar with it? Yeah, so their buildings, right? I'm like, that sounds like a fun company that would probably love what I do. So I just went back got home after the dog walk and just started emailing people there and got someone connected back with me. And now we're good friends. We do workshops together all the time. And it's like, you just never know unless you just make that first small step.
So true. Thank you for sharing that, because I know it's inspiring to hear, but it's also inspiring others to make that happen, to take that step. Because, yeah, we have so many ideas in our head, but it's in the execution and taking that first step where we make it a possible success.
That's right. That's right. When I talk about curiosity, when I do my keynote on curiosity, I always talk about curiosity as a noun. To make it become a reality, you have to take action.
Which is the word. Yep.
Yeah. And that action doesn't have to be more than just one tiny step, and see what opens up for you.
So true. Now, talking about fun, curiosity, taking action, what is the one thing you do to de-stress, kick it back, and just get some downtime?
We've talked about that, even though we haven't gone yet, but I used to be a surfer, and don't be impressed. I was not ever a good surfer. I just like to surf. But now I love paddleboarding. I love getting on the water and just paddleboarding. So that's something you and I know have in common, and we need to get out there on the water together.
Yeah, we need to have our board meeting pretty soon.
That's right. That's right.
Any book or podcast recommendations? I know you're biased towards one book.
Okay, so yes, book recommendation. I'll recommend two. One book is one that really helped me get started in my business, and it's called One Small Step Can Change Your Life, the Kaizen Way, by Dr. Robert Maurer, who's become a mentor of mine now. And the other one is by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's called Big Magic. And both of them really help you really actualize curiosity and bring your ideas to life by actionable steps. And Dr. Robert Maurer's book is based on neuroscience as well. So it tells you about what, not only like how to take the one small step, but why by taking one small step, you're actually able to get to your goals faster.
Well, thank you for sharing those.
Yes,
now, on to my favorite part of the show, which we call the one-line life lessons. We would love for you to share your life lessons with us.
One-line life lessons?
Yes.
Okay, so how many can I share?
Well, as many as you want.
Okay, so I would say growing up in the United States, in Santa Monica, as one of the very few Asian women, or Asians at the time, I never truly lived into who I was. I was always at home trying to be what my parents were like, and at school being what other people were like. I do a keynote now called Stronger Together by the Sum of Our Differences. So I say life lesson number one is to own your differences, right? That's how you stand out, become successful. And that's how you add to the world, is just by owning your differences. And then in terms of business, this is what I share often, is this idea of permission. Don't wait for permission. I'm often now spoken about as a subject matter expert in curiosity and creativity. Where I don't know where that came from. I didn't aim for that. No one gave me permission to be that. What I did was I just started making myself visible. I started talking about curiosity. I started talking about creativity and making and giving myself permission. So give yourself permission. Don't wait for permission.
Love that. If you have more, I would love to hear them.
Again, another one for people who are starting in business. Another one I share is just start and keep going. It's that resilience you were talking about earlier. Most people don't even start. Some people start, and then a lot of people, those who start, don't keep going. And I read somewhere, I forgot, who knows, it might have been an Instagram memes that might have no reality to it at all, but it said most businesses fail because people don't keep going. All businesses, no matter where you are on that lifeline of business, you're going to have up and downs. You're going to continue to have up and downs, no matter how successful you are. But if you just give up and stop when you're in a slump, then of course you're never going to succeed. So if you truly believe in what you're doing and you have some level of success and good feedback, just keep going.
That's so true and so important. And also because entrepreneurship tends to be a lonely journey, you don't have that sounding board or a group of other entrepreneurs or friends, if you will, that can continue to encourage you to keep going. You might
Mm,
think, oh, the world is passing me by, or look at my friends or my colleagues or who have you or relatives that are making that steady salary, guaranteed income. And here I am trying to chase this dream that maybe nobody else cares about. And I'm missing out on so much in life. But it's important to keep going. As you said, if you have enough validation, if you got into it for the right reasons, just keep going.
yes, absolutely. And then this idea of defining your own success, right? I think what you just said right there, I am often like, oh, should I just go get a job at some point? There's moments where you're like, oh, wouldn't it just be easier? All these people I know who have jobs, they go home and they're done for the day. Like we're still going.
One of our one line life lessons is salary is the bribe they pay you to kill your
Mm.
dreams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'll keep you going on your
Yes.
entrepreneurial pursuit for sure. Yeah.
One, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your story, and your one line life lessons with us. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on all of the successes so far,
Thank you,
and
Nixie.
super excited for this upcoming launch and many more successes to come.
Thank you so much. And can I just say I'm so grateful that we met, right? One of those other
Likewise.
curiosities was met. You had a little, I think it was a pin with a paddle border on it. I'm like,
Yes.
what's that? So grateful that we met. I think this is and becoming a beautiful friendship. And just a little bit of just reflection on this conversation. Your energy is so calming. Thank you for that, because I tend to be a little chaotic. So your energy is this really helps to ground me. And I'm sure many
Thank you.
people have the same feeling when they're around you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to a board meeting here pretty soon.
Yes.
Thanks.